If this is a soul contract, does that mean I have to stay? Does it mean I have to tolerate what hurts? Does it mean I'm failing spiritually if I walk away? Does it mean I have no choice? Welcome to a Drop of Soul podcast. I'm Kim Wakefield, and this is your space for gentle, practical wisdom to help you live in deeper connection with your soul and higher consciousness, one drop at a time. Today we're talking about soul contracts, not just the people we meet, but the experiences we move through, the seasons that shape us, the moments that change us, and the lessons our soul came here to learn. And the question we're holding today is this: are soul contracts non-negotiable? Because for people who are aware enough, that question isn't hypothetical. It is real. It is personal. It shows up when you're in a relationship that feels intense, when you keep repeating the same dynamic, when you're in a season of loss or upheaval, when life is not going to plan, and mistakes, or what you might see as failures, keep happening. When you are asking, is this meant to be happening, or did my soul choose this? And underneath it all is usually the same fear. If this is a soul contract, does that mean I have to stay? Does it mean I have to tolerate what hurts? Does it mean I'm failing spiritually if I walk away? Does it mean I have no choice? I want to answer that with truth, with compassion, and with a deep respect for your lived experience. Because spiritual language can be healing, and it can also become a cage if it's used to override your safety, your boundaries, or your humanity. And that is not what our soul is here for. When I say soul contract, I'm talking about a soul level agreement, an energetic agreement that shapes the kind of lessons, themes, and growth your soul came here to experience. And yes, that can involve people. It can also involve experiences. Soul contracts can look like a relationship that wakes you up, a friendship that mirrors your worth, a job that teaches you boundaries, a move that changes your identity, a season of grief that cracks you open, a health journey that forces you to slow down, a moment where everything else falls apart, and finally, you come home to yourself. Sometimes the contract is about love. Sometimes it's about courage. Sometimes it's about learning to trust. Sometimes it's about learning to leave. And sometimes it's about learning to stop abandoning yourself. So when we talk about soul contracts, we're not just talking about who, we're talking about what. What is your soul trying to learn? What is your soul trying to remember? What is your soul trying to reclaim? Soul contracts do not remove your free will. They don't override your boundaries. They don't cancel your right to choose. And they do not require you to suffer to prove you're evolving. In my experience, the healthiest way to understand soul contracts is this: some lessons are persistent, but the path you choose is always flexible. Meaning, you may keep meeting the same theme until you learn what you're meant to learn, but you still have a choice in how you learn it. You still get to be human. You still get to feel. You still get to say, this hurts. You still get to say, this isn't okay. You still get to say, I'm done. One of the biggest misunderstandings I see is when people confuse these two things. The lessons you're here to learn and the access something or someone gets to you while you're learning it. Yes, a relationship can be a teacher, but that doesn't mean that person gets unlimited access to your body, your energy, your life, your peace, your safety, or your future. And yes, an experience can be a teacher too. But that doesn't mean you're meant to stay passive inside it or accept the unacceptable. If anything, doing that means you're not learning the lesson. And it's certainly not meant to silence your truth. Soul contracts can be real, but your nervous system is real too. Your well-being is real. Your boundaries are real. And your soul never requires self-abandonment as the entry fee. I want to share something really personal here because I don't want this to be airy or abstract. Many years ago, I was in a violent relationship with my children's father. And I want to say this simply and clearly. Leaving meant surviving. There was no spiritual glamour to it. There was no love or light about it. It was raw. It was terrifying. It was real. And at the time, I wasn't thinking about soul contracts. In fact, I didn't even know soul contracts existed. I was trying to stay alive. I was trying to protect myself. I was trying to protect my children. And I left. Years later, with more healing, more perspective, and more spiritual understanding, I realized something. Well, actually, I was shown something in a meditation that he and I had a soul agreement. And one of the many lessons within that agreement wasn't to stay, it was to finally leave. It was to know I was worth more. It was to stand up for myself. It was to stop abandoning myself in the name of love, loyalty, fear, or hope. So when I say this, I mean it with my whole heart. Realizing you have a soul contract with someone is never a reason to stay in abuse or self-abandonment. If anything, the lesson would be to leave, to stand up for yourself, to know your worth, to know that you deserve so much more. The contract isn't to endure. The contract is always to choose yourself. So, are soul contracts non-negotiable? No, not in the way fear tells you that they are. A soul contract might bring you into contact with a person or a pattern or a season, but it doesn't mean you're meant to stay stuck inside it forever. A soul contract is not a life sentence. It is not a spiritual handcuff. It's not a rule that says you must stay and suffer because it's sacred. Sometimes a contract is to meet, to learn, to wake up, to remember your worth, and to leave. Sometimes a contract is to go through an experience that changes you, and then to let it change you. Not to cling to it, not to keep reliving it, not to make it your identity, to let it shape you, and then to move forward along with the lessons that you have learned. Let's name a few phrases that sound spiritual, that can become dangerous if they're used to override your truth or to keep you stuck. This is karmic, so I have to endure it. It's triggering me, so it must be healing. My soul chose this, so I should be able to handle it. If I leave, I'm failing the lesson. If I'm spiritual enough, I won't feel this much pain. No, Sometimes what's triggering you is not healing, it's harm. Sometimes what's repeating is not destiny, it's a pattern. Sometimes what's intense is not sacred, it's familiar. It keeps you in your comfort zone. And sometimes the lesson is not to tolerate more, it's to tolerate less. It's to stop normalizing what your body has been begging you to get away from. Here's a reframe that might help. Instead of asking, is this meant to be happening? Ask, what is this here to teach me? And then ask, what would it look like to learn this lesson without abandoning myself? Because your soul is wise. It's not cruel. Your soul doesn't need you to be numb. It doesn't need you to pretend. It doesn't need you to bypass your feelings. It needs you to be honest. It needs you to be awake. It needs you to choose what is true. Just pause now for a moment, wherever you are, and ask yourself these 3 questions. What is the lesson here? Not the story, not the drama, but the lesson. Is it worth boundaries, voice, trust, self-respect, letting go? What is there for you to learn in whatever your experience is right now? What choice would I make if I truly believed I was worthy of safety, respect, and love? Not forever, not your whole life plan, just the next choice. What would it look like to stay connected to myself while I learn this? Because learning the lesson isn't the goal. Learning it without losing yourself is. And if you don't know the answer to any of those questions yet, that's okay. You can come back to this and listen anytime you like. Sometimes the most soul-led thing you can do is to admit, I'm not ready to decide, but I'm ready to stop lying to myself. Because irrespective of what you are experiencing in your life right now, radical self-honesty is always the key, is always the beginning. So, are soul contracts non-negotiable? No. Some lessons are persistent, but the path is flexible. And whether your contract is with a person, a pattern, or a lesson, or a season of life, your soul is not here to trap you. Your soul is here to free you. And if you're in something that is costing you your safety, your dignity, your peace, or your sense of self, you do not need a spiritual reason to leave. Your truth is reason enough. In fact, that is what makes you spiritual. Living your truth. If this drop of soul landed for you, explore Fierce Truths magazine for free. And if you're ready to go deeper, join Soul Plus, our membership for live soul sessions, meditations, and soulful resources. Use code DROP25 for 25% off. You'll find everything you need on our website. So until next time, live your fiercest truth and don't be scared to shine.